Hi everyone, Jessica here and welcome back to my channel. So today I thought we'd take a look at a Altenew layering stamp set and we're going to create a really easy background. So this stamp set was a free gift with issue 200 of Simply Cards Papercraft. So as you can see, I've already created some masks for this stamp set, so you will want to go ahead and create some of these before you get started. So as you can see, I've got 2 leaves and I've got 3 flowers. So as you can see, this is a previous card that I made. So we've just used this layering stamp set and we've created this really colourful and beautiful background. Okay, so here's our blank 7x5" card base and we'll be stamping directly onto this today. So what I want to do, like I did in my previous card that I just showed you, is mask off a section for me to put my sentiment in. So all I'm going to do is take in my low tack purple tape. So you want to make sure it's low tack so you don't risk ripping your card when you take it back up at the end. And I'm just going to create a sort of diagonal section at the top where I'll be able to put my sentiment. So as you can see, I'm masking off the whole area because I want to make sure that I don't get this top section mucky. So now we've protected this area of the card, we can go ahead and start stamping our background. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in my stamping platform. So with the layering dies, you will find it much easier using a stamping platform because you'll be able to get sort of the detail stamp, so the second stamp, perfectly on top of the first one. I'm going to show you the ink pads that I'm going to be using today. So we've got the Finesse by Spectrum Noir, so you can use any sort of black outline ink that you want. Then these are going to be the colours we're going to be using for our flowers and leaves. So we'll be using the Prism World of Colour ink pad. So these are dye-based inks. So we've got Rainforest Green, Blue Lagoon, Canary Yellow, Orange Zest, Red Chili, Purple Velvet and Dusty Rose. I really love these particular ink pads. I think they're incredibly juicy and the colour that you get, especially if you stamp them a couple of times, is a really rich, vivid colour. Okay, so let's get started with our background. So the first thing I'm going to do is just pop my card into my stamping platform. So this is the Tonic Studios and this is the Tim Holtz stamping platform. So I'm just going to use the edge of the double-sided tape just to stick down my card blank to the stamping platform itself, because I'll be using my magnets to hold down my masks. So here is our stamp set we'll be using. So you've got one outline die with then the detail die and the same again for the leaves. So we're just going to start with a flower outline. So as you can see, I'm just positioning it sort of in the middle and overlapping onto my masking tape. So I've done this so we get sort of a nice little cut off of our background into the blank white. So we're just going to ink up our outline stamp now. So again, use whatever black ink that you have. I'm just using this Finesse pad by Spectrum Noir. So I usually ink my images twice because I like to get a nice crisp outline on my stamped images. So you'll find throughout this whole video that I'll be stamping most of them twice. So this is what makes using the stamping platform a lot better and a lot more convenient, because if I'm not happy with the coverage I had to begin with, then I can just re-stamp it. So now we're happy with our outline, we're going to come in with our detailed stamp. So there'll almost be little unique features to the stamp that you'll be able to use to line it up with your outside stamp. So on this particular one, there's sort of 2 pieces that kind of stick out. And I've just used those bits to match it up with my outline stamp. So the first colour we're going to be using is the Dusty Rose. And we're just going to get a nice coverage on our detailed stamp. But again, I do stamp this twice just to get a little bit more colour on the page. What I do love about this particular stamp is it's very, very forgiving. So perhaps if you don't line it up perfectly, to be honest, I don't think you'd really notice because it's not filling in the entirety of the image. It's only sort of filling in a part of it with colour. Again, I don't think you would notice if you didn't stamp it perfectly. So one thing that's super important with this detailed stamp is to make sure you clean all the colour off. So when you come to use your next colour, you're not sort of getting a blend of the previous colour in there. Okay, so we've got our first flower down and I'm really happy with the way it's come out. But now we need to think about where we're going to pop our next flower or our next leaf. One thing I am going to do is just heat dry it a little bit, just so when we pop our masks on top of our image, it's not going to kind of smudge anywhere. So I want to pop a leaf just behind this flower. So what we're going to do is using the masks that we've already created. So all I've done to create these is just stamp the image on a piece of paper or a post-it note, and I've just sort of roughly cut around it. So I've just used a regular post-it note here, so it's not going to be sticky all the way over it. So I'm just going to use my magnet just to hold it down. So as you can see now, we're going to bring in our leaf design. So this is now going to appear behind our flower. And we're going to follow the same process as we did with our flower. So we're going to lay down our black outline, then we're going to use the sort of detailed stamp to add some colour to it. So again, the leaf is exactly the same as a flower, extremely forgiving if you don't quite line it up perfect. And as you'll notice, again, I'm stamping my image twice. Throughout this background, I colour my leaves with all the same shade of green, so that rainforest green, but you could use sort of different shades of green if you wanted to add a little bit more interest to your background. So I'm happy with my leaf that I've just popped down, so we're going to just move on down the masked edge and create our next flower. So as you can see, I've already put down my leaf mask, and this will make it appear like this flower is behind that leaf. Creating masks for your stamped images is a really great way of perhaps building scenes. Maybe if you don't have any coordinating dies to go with a stamp set, it means that you can just stamp straight onto a piece of card and sort of create that scene or dimension that you want. So here we're creating almost like a flower bed with these leaves and these flowers. So we're creating almost like a flower bed background. At the moment, you can see I'm just following that masked edge just so I can fill that sort of in perfectly. But as we sort of move down the card, you'll see that I'll move to different areas because I don't want everything just to be behind the image I stamped previously. I want other sections of the card to sort of appear like they're on top. So you can begin to see how this background sort of comes together. So again, using the masks means that we can put sort of some of the images behind others, and it just makes it look a little bit more realistic. So this isn't the quickest background to create, but I do think the sort of overall look of it is really, really fantastic. And I do think it is worth the time and effort. So we've talked about how to actually create this background. So we've looked at using the mask to create the dimension, and we've looked at how to sort of line up your detailed sort of colour stamp with your outline. So now I don't want to keep sort of repeating myself because there's not much left to talk about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you just watch me create the background, and then we'll come back when it's all finished. So all we've got left to do now is remove these final masks and you'll be able to see the finished background. I hope you enjoyed watching me create this background, and I do think the time and effort you put into it really does sort of show through in the final product. So all we've got left to do now is just take off our masking tape and reveal our background. We've used quite a bit of masking tape here, so I will be looking to reuse this where I can to stick down sort of dies when you put it through your die cutting machine. So our last piece of masking tape, so I really hope this is going to show us a really nice sort of clean line between our background and the white of the rest of the card. So I'm so happy that we've got a nice sort of clean, sharp line between the white and our background and nothing has bled through. So now we're going to pop our sentiment onto our card. So I'm going to be using a sentiment from this Stamps by Me set. So this is new, I only purchased this last week and I'm super excited to be able to use this on a card. So I've got some nice sentiments in here and we're going to go with sending you lots of love, and we're just going to place that sort of on the diagonal of the line. So I'm going to put this card back into my stamping platform. So I have cleaned this after I used it previously, and then this means that we'll be able to sort of line up our sentiment perfectly with the line of our background. I'm also going to heat emboss it just to give it something a little extra, so I've just used an anti-static bag there to help with the embossing powder. I really love these Stamps by Me stamp sets. You get a really nice big flower in there and you get a couple of really nice sentiments. So I'm just going to line my sentiment up with the diagonal edge of my background, sort of roughly in the middle of the card. This is just another reason why I love to use my stamping platform, because I know that I can stamp this sentiment once. If I don't get that sharp image that I really want, then I can stamp it again in the exact same place. So I stamped my sentiment a couple of times because I can't quite get the bottom of the G in the word sending. Other than that, again, normally I only sort of stamp my images maybe twice, just so I can capture the sections that I missed in the first stamp. So when we've finished stamping our sentiment, I'm going to go ahead and use some clear embossing powder and just emboss the sentiment just to make it stand out a little bit more. So here's our finished card. As you can see, I've just added a little black thin line across that diagonal line between the background and the white of the card. So here's our finished card, and I just think it looks absolutely incredible. I think, like I said at the beginning, it is well worth the time and effort putting into creating a background like this. You can also see the previous card that I made that I showed you at the start using the same technique, and I really love how masking off a section of it and just keeping it white gives it that really nice sort of clean and elegant feel to these cards, and I just think they look absolutely fantastic. So thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up and comment below. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. Thanks for watching and happy crafting!